Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David. How you doing tonight?
Good, Bruce. The Oilers won, and my beer league team won, and this for the first time in my history as a player, I scored the winning shootout goal tonight.
Awesome. Shootout goal. What a
Yeah.
20 rounds?
It was the third shot. We were up by one.
All right. So the clincher, eh?
Went to my backhand
Sweet.
to put it between his legs. So there you go.
That's 2 good games in a row for you, David.
Yeah, I'm on a roll.
Uh-huh.
All right. The Oilers are not, well, they got on a roll against a really a weak team, Bruce. I think after that game, Anaheim's going to the NHL and asking to be re-tiered. They really struggled tonight. The grade A, they score 6-2, of course, for the Oilers. And the grade A shots in the game were 23-9 for the Oilers with a subset of 5 alarm shots, 10-4. Bruce, this is our 2 good things, 2 bad things, and 2 numbers podcast. What is your good thing?
Yeah, I'm going to go slightly off the board. On a lot of the Oilers played well to very well. The one guy who played well that we've never had a chance to talk about before is Vincent Desharnais. And I'm going to single him out for a most excellent debut as an Edmonton Oiler. And he played just a shade over 15 minutes. They basically rotated the 4 righties all on the right and the 3 lefties all on the left. And they managed to get 15 minutes in even for the would-be number 7 D-man in this game. And I was just very impressed with the package that we saw, which was more or less as promised. This is not a guy who's going to light things up offensively, but he does have a little bit of offensive, in his hockey brain, includes actually the offensive part of the game. We saw a little bit of that, but mostly what we saw was defense, and I thought very good defense. I liked his positioning. I liked his calmness and composure when he had the puck or when he was, when there was any kind of heat on him. I liked his battle level. I liked the way he finished checks. I thought he looked good on the penalty kill when he got that opportunity for 2 minutes and 5 seconds he played on the kill. He led the team with 3 hits, and when he hit guys, they stayed hit, And even it didn't look like he was really mashing him, and then you see the guy hit the boards and kind of crumple, and thought, whoa, yeah, he felt that. He took early a very cheap penalty for interference where the guy shot the puck past him, and he immediately hit the guy, and somehow they called it interference. But he got that penalty back in spades later when he stole the puck off of the legendary Trevor Zegras and drew a retaliatory slash from Zegras, and Zegras went to the box, and the Oilers power play clicked for a goal after about 6 seconds. That was that strong defensive play was quickly converted into a goal by the Oilers, and I liked basically the game that he showed, and obviously the size, just a little bit of nastiness, the crease clearing that I don't think the team has really had this year. And I'm not sure that there's a role for him, like immediately for, forever as an NHL player, but I do definitely think there's a future for this guy as an NHL player. And such a nice story, David, 26 years old. I mean, this guy was drafted by the Oilers in 2016, and that was in his 3rd year of eligibility. He was already 20 years old. He'd been passed over twice, and the Oilers took him in the 7th round in 2016, just right near the end of the draft. He'd played 1 year of college hockey by then. By 3 years later, he was a D-man of the year in Hockey East. And even then, the Oilers convinced him to sign an AHL contract that kept him off the 50-man list, but gave him a chance to work on his skills in the AHL with the promise that if he did that, they would give him an NHL contract. And eventually, 3 years later, they did. And he didn't sign with the Oilers until spring of 2022, 6 years after they drafted him. And now here, less than a year later, he's in the NHL with his thrilled family in attendance. And it's just a real nice feel-good story. So that's my good thing out of this game.
I really liked his play too, Bruce, especially on the penalty kill.
Mm-hmm.
He looks just what they need on the penalty kill. A big guy who can clear out the front of the net, win battles in front of the net. And when the puck goes, is passed, there's a seam pass, and he goes out to block the shot. He covers a lot of blockage area. He's a wall. I just think he's tried to pass around him, try to shoot through him. I don't know. It's an interesting issue for the Oilers, Bruce. I mean, I don't see them trading CC, and I don't see them trading Evan Bouchard, and it would be strange in some ways to trade Tyson Barrie at this point. But I do think they need this kind of defenseman on the team. I think this kind of player is lacking. This defensive defenseman who can really help on the PK. They're desperate for him, and they've got to find a roster spot for someone who can do that work. Now, it could be someone who I think takes Kulak's spot on the left side. And I would play Philip Broberg ahead of Kulak at this point. Personally, I know that's probably most people wouldn't agree with that, but that's what I would do. Or it's, I think, Tyson Barrie on the right side, who it's one of those two players. Because I think Bouchard could step up and play on the power play. So I think he has a chance to take on a role this year. Go ahead.
Or it's 7D, man, like they did tonight. And it worked pretty well in this game.
Yeah.
And they were able, because of the Oilers were in control of this game pretty much throughout. They were able to roll the lines and roll the defensemen, and everybody got a fair amount of ice time. Only Darnell Nurse, almost 24 minutes, was, taxed in any way, or really they were only using 3 left D-men. Even, guys like Draisaitl, 16 minutes, McDavid, 15 minutes, they got a nice break tonight. And because it was that kind of game, there was, and because Jay Woodcroft and Dave Manson know this player, because he's played with them in Bakersfield for parts of 3 seasons, I think it is, that they were quite comfortable getting him in there, and they even gave him 1 or 2 shifts on the left side, and he comported himself well. He had a couple of little bobbles with the puck, but nothing that was really sort of egregious, and some real smart plays with the puck, and a couple of like I said, composed passes, that a couple of backhand passes that that he was able to get on target to a teammate under a little bit of duress, and maybe against a better team he's going to get burned on trying something like that. But tonight he made it work, and I enjoyed watching him.
Yeah, my good thing is another. It's built around a young player, Dylan Holloway. He got moved up to the top line with McDavid and Kari Yamamoto, and hey, about time. Kurt Levens has been talking about this a long time. He's been very unhappy with the lack of use of Holloway, and finally he got his chance, and it was fantastic because he came through, which means he's going to get another chance, right? You have a game like that, it opens things up for you, and the first 2 of the first 3 goals were scored by that line for the Oilers. So when the game was still in doubt, they set the pace for the Oilers. The first goal, Tyson Barrie makes a fantastic pinch down the wall. He beats the Anaheim winger down the wall and gets the puck to McDavid, who makes a no-look pass to Dylan Holloway in the slot, who just one-timers it in. An absolute harpoon of a shot right in the net. That's what makes Connor McDavid happy, having a line mate who can do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it got better from there. I mean, the next goal was even in some ways I liked more because it was a bit more of a hard working goal. Yamamoto did a fantastic job angling and taking the guy's stick away and then taking the puck along the boards. He
Mm-hmm.
puts it to McDavid, who makes this incredible spin move, hard stop,
Oh.
reverse direction to his backhand. And
Mm-hmm.
in front of that is Holloway battling away and pushing the Anaheim defenseman into the goalie's view. And McDavid just whips that backhand shot off the post into the net. It was an incredible shot. Great play by Holloway, though, screening the goalie, and great play by Yamamoto. So that line looks spectacular on those two goals. And we'll see that, Dylan Holloway, wingers can
Mm-hmm.
come on fast in the NHL. You don't need to be, you know, that experienced of a hockey player to excel as a winger in the NHL. Dylan Holloway may be a big part of the answer for the Edmonton Oilers. That was a big game for him. He finally showed off his skill and some grit, and excellent game from him.
Liked his game a lot. When he scored that, it was the first goal of the game, just 3.5 minutes in on his second shift with McDavid. And he had the odd shift here and there with McDavid, games where they went 11-7 and he was on the fourth line and they'd, cycle the centers through or something. But he never got a real chance in really the top six, and certainly not on line with McDavid. But to score as quickly as that. So I just went and I opened my front door and listened, and on the wind I could just hear the many voices of oil country saying, "I told you he should be on the McDavid line." There's
Yeah.
so many people that have been saying that. Tonight's your night, folks. Enjoy it. He's a rookie. He makes rookie mistakes, but boy, he brings energy and enthusiasm and skill. And does this team need all of those things?
Indeed. Bruce, what is your bad thing tonight?
Yeah, yeah, not a whole lot bad. The one thing I didn't like, I'm going to forgive these guys immediately for the reasons stated. But at the end of the Oilers had a power play in the third period, comfortably ahead 6-2 halfway through the third. But you still don't want to do anything stupid. You don't want to give the other team any goals. And they went with the second power play unit first and left the big boys on the bench. And halfway through, they changed up. And I thought, okay, they'll put up the first unit to clean up the rest of the way. The first unit had scored after 6 seconds on the prior power play. But instead, they came up with the rarely seen third unit that included point men Brett Kulak and Cody Ceci. And they didn't score, which really wasn't surprising. But the disappointing thing came right at the end when about 5 seconds before the penalty ended, and you could hear Jack Campbell going whack, 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 whack at the far end of the ice, like goalies are supposed to do, to warn the point men in particular, there's going to be a guy coming out of the box behind him right away. And both the point men, Cody Ceci and Brett Kulak, slept right through the alarm. And then Ryan McLeod turned the puck over right in front of the net. There was one quick pass later and a clear breakaway to Kevin Shattenkirk coming out of the box. He went in, and Jack Campbell just got a little tiny piece of that one, or it was probably going to be in the net. And so he bailed out the D-men after first letting them know what was going to happen. But and the reason I'm going to forgive them is because the last time either of them played on the power play was probably in junior hockey. Like it's such a rare thing, and they were probably thinking, "Let's go! Here's my chance to go for it and get a goal," or whatever. And it was just a momentary letdown. But it was a little bit of a glaring one in a game where there wasn't like a ton of mistakes. I'm going to point fingers here, there, and everywhere, but this was a small mistake that wound up not costing anything at all. But just a detail that was missed.
CC was actually on the power play. There was a minute left in the game when the Oilers had a lead,
Mm-hmm.
and the other
Yeah.
and the other team, or was it tied up, or did
It's
they
the
have a
game.
lead?
St. Louis tied it. Yeah.
And
You're
they
right.
scored. They got another man out there, and they scored that. So don't put Cody Ceci on the power play.
He was a hot shot in junior hockey. He played a lot of power play. He was billed as an offensive defenseman on his draft day, as I recall. And he was, of course, the first-round draft pick. But he's evolved into something very different in the NHL, which often happens with these guys.
So, Bruce, my bad thing is, and it wasn't even that bad necessarily. It was just at the start of the game when the game was still in doubt. There are a couple calls there that I just had me shaking my head again about NHL officiating in California. There was the Desharnais penalty, and then Draisaitl got tripped right behind the. I think he was right behind the net. It was just an obvious trip. It's an obvious penalty, and how they didn't call it, I couldn't figure out. But Bruce, I have some good news. I got a leaked document from the NHL.
Oh yeah.
Sent to me, and it's a memo to all NHL officials, and the subject is the Cali rules. It's called, and it lists 6 rules, and they are: number 1, you are allowed to trip Leon Draisaitl with impunity. Number 2, you are allowed to hold or hook Connor McDavid with impunity. Number 3, if you're Drew Doughty, you can trip, hold, and hook any player with impunity. Number 4,
or elbow.
Always ask yourself before making a call, what do I say to Corey? Number 5, pushing Connor McDavid into the goalpost shall result in a minor penalty to McDavid if he complains. And number 6, sitting on the opposition goalie is allowed, especially in the last seconds of a tie game. So I think we've been wondering, Bruce, we've been, angry and upset, but we can just see this is all perfectly rational. The referees are just following the game plan as set up by the NHL. So I guess it's a good thing in a way, like to have that kind of consistency in the refereeing and strong leadership from the NHL in this regard. So I give kudos to that organization.
Yeah, well, they had a little bit the mercy rule in effect, I think, from the refs tonight. And there was the last 3 minutes of the game when Zach Hyman was trying to, manfully pull away for a potential breakaway, and that guy just grabbed and held him all the way down the ice, and the refs were doing their thing, not noticing anything. And then 10 seconds later, Puljujärvi got a penalty for interference, which was interference. I went back and I looked at it. I never showed a replay, but real time, he kind of smoked a guy in the slot. So I was okay with that. But Nuge was going after the ref pretty good at that, even though it was 6-2, saying, well, and Louis DeBrusque was all over him, which he isn't that often, but saying, that's just ridiculous that they're, that he's 6'2" and however many pounds, but when you grab onto him for that long, surely the guy's got to notice at some point. Tonight it was a non-factor, but
I know
I generally find myself getting aggravated at various points in most road games in California cities. So
the Cali rules, Bruce. Now we know. What is your number, Bruce?
My number is the sensational on-ice numbers recorded by one Philip Broberg tonight, who I thought had an outstanding game. He was really good in this game, and he just was so composed and strong with the puck. I think we had him with 5 contributions to grade A chances.
Correct.
And
grade
none
shots,
against.
Yeah, none against.
Yeah. Well, according to Natural Stat Trick, and officially, he has a very quiet sheet. No shots on goal. He played 18 minutes and 10 seconds, second most of any Oiler defenseman. But when he was on the ice, the shot attempts were 27-4 for Edmonton, 87%. Shots on net, and this is in just under 15 minutes at even strength. The Oilers outshot Anaheim 22-3, 88%. And Oilers had 16-3 in scoring chances and 8-2 in high danger chances. And in expected goals, 1.8 to 0.18. A 10-to-1 ratio, 91% of expected goals. Very, very unlucky to wind up the night splitting the goals evenly, 1 for, 1 against. And on the goal he was involved and he took his man, and the mistakes came behind him. But I loved his game tonight. He tonight I sort of looked at him going, Swedish defenseman. We really got one, you know. And in my book, Swedish defensemen are very high on the list of desirables. And he is. It looks like he's finding it and getting it. He's played a few good games lately, and this was the best one yet, in my view. And he's earning a game grade of 8 from me in the grades that I haven't quite got to his number 86 yet, but that's what he's going to be getting from this game. I just thought he was excellent, and the numbers totally reflect that when he was on the ice, Edmonton was in control of this game.
Nice to see. I mean, there's been a lot of criticism about the draft pick, obviously. People
especially
thinking,
when the immortal Trevor -4 Zegras was picked right after him, but hey.
He's a good offensive hockey player, obviously.
Yes,
But defensemen take a little longer to develop, and this guy's on the same path as Oscar Klefbom. In this year of, draft year, whatever it is, draft 4 or 5 after the draft, Klefbom was just breaking in as a bottom pairing defenseman on the Oilers. Philip Broberg's doing that right now, and to me, he deserves to be on this team. He deserves to take a shift. He's, I think he's played his way ahead of Kulak, and I don't know if he's a second pairing defenseman though, but I don't know if either of those players. I know Kulak has struggled in that role, so we can say that with certainty. We know Kulak is a pretty good third pairing defenseman. I'm going to give.
We do. Yep.
Yeah. So I'll make that clear. But Philip Broberg is really starting to look like he's a very interesting player, Bruce. And when he starts moving the puck around like he has, when we watched him in Sweden, I didn't see that so much. It was more like him carrying the puck. He was more like a Darnell Nurse type, kind of lugging the puck really fast. But tonight he was just really good making passes with the puck. The assist that he got, he just slung it right across the ice. Just a really great pass. He is he can really play. And what I like about I love his defensive play, even though he's not a really rough, tough player or necessarily a shot blocker. But he gets on guys and he sticks to them and he wins the puck off them. He seems strong enough to win the puck, and I just think his skating is at a higher level than the vast majority of NHL players and defensemen. And he's starting to use it to really good advantage, and he's tall and he's strong. So I know there's some people that are kind of itching to see him traded so they can bring in Joel Edmondson or Gavrikov or some defenseman. I just hope
Chychrun is the main one. But
yeah, I'm not on the Chychrun. I'm neither for nor against Chychrun. I need to say that because I haven't seen him play. But I'm not. I don't like the idea of trading this player at all. I think it would be a big mistake. Now, if you get a player who can help you win the Stanley Cup this year, well, that's something to think about. But I can't remember. I heard Frank Saravalli on Oilers Now breaking down Chychrun's game, and he just thought he was wrong for the Oilers. It's not what the Oilers need. He's a shoot first kind of attacking player. I mean, they have Evan Bouchard, they have Tyson Barrie. I guess in theory they might move one of those guys in order to get Chychrun, and he's a left shot guy. But Darnell Nurse can also shoot. He's got a decent shot. So they need someone. They need defenders, and Philip Broberg can defend. This is what I like about him. And when he starts
seeing more and more of that myself.
Yeah, so he's not consistently done it yet against good teams. This was against the Anaheim Ducks.
Yes.
And the swarming Anaheim Ducks. And it was good to see. But again, he's got to do this in some big games against some good teams down in the next 2 months before, whatever it is, 6 weeks before the trade deadline. But I'm not. I think he could be part of the answer this year for this team.
Yeah, well, he's played a few good games lately. I thought he was excellent against the Islanders in the win last week, and tonight again, very, very good. And I think he's starting to come on. He's starting to feel. He's gotten a few games in a row, where he's played He's had a pretty nice run of games since this most recent recall, and he's starting to look comfortable, and he's starting to react in real time as opposed to needing that split second to decide what to do next. Maybe losing a little bit of the fear and the sense of awe that the young guys tend to have in the early days in the NHL, and you got to work your way through that because that's never a good strategy in the long run. But he's starting to look comfortable, and I'm starting to get pretty excited about what kind of a player he may yet turn into if he's like the player that he was in this game on any kind of a consistent basis. There's a whole lot to like about his game and his skill set.
I just want to make just a quick another good thing. I just had to check in case this was some kind of fever dream that it maybe didn't really happen, but this did happen. There was one play out there where Matthias Janmark anamorphed into Connor McDavid and whipped around the ice. Did the full around. He's going around town, right around the ice, and then he set up Kostin in the slot with a low high pass, and Kostin slammed it in. What a play by Matthias Janmark, who I don't know what generally people think of this player, but I really like this player. I think he's a fantastic addition to the team as a third line player. I give the scouts and Ken Holland full credit on picking that guy up. He can really play hockey.
Well, tonight he's sure good. Boy, he was slippery as anything tonight, and he was. I mean, that play there where he was Houdini. It seemed like in the offensive zone. And he did it later on the penalty kill, where he got a puck in the Anaheim zone, and he just did a twist in his turn, and all of a sudden he lost all of the defenders and went in and almost was able to deke and beat the goalie. And a couple other plays along the boards where he just came out with the puck and just primarily through his good skating, but also able to control the puck while he was doing it. He had some, that whole line with him and Kostin and Nugent Hopkins had a pretty nice night with 3 goals among them.
Yeah. Bruce, we didn't even mention Kostin, who just he's like sniper prime here. Good for him.
Well, you said only one good thing each, and then you just snagged the second one.
So. I know, Bruce. I feel I've betrayed you. All right, my number is the grade A shots in the 2 games against Anaheim. It's 49-17 for the Oilers. 49 grade A shots. That translates in the Oilers should have about expected goals about 12, and the Ducks about 4.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow, though, the Oilers have come out of this scenario with 1 win and 1 loss, and I hope that 1 loss doesn't haunt them down the road when they're fighting for a playoff spot. That was a brutal loss.
I was at that game, and I still can't believe it. Somebody asked me the next day who won the game, and I said Hockey Gourds 4, Oilers 3. It was just one of those games they were just destined somehow to not win, no matter how much they dominated it.
Yeah.
49-17, that was the actual shots in the first game. And you say that's the grade A's for the 2 games combined.
Yeah.
And the shots for the 2 games combined, 102-40. And 1 game each, both in regulation. So.
Yeah, that works out to about 12 and 4 goals too, right? Like, so, it's mystifying, and it hurts that the Ducks stole that victory, and the Oilers cannot let it happen again, and they didn't let it happen tonight. So that's the good news.
They took care of business tonight.
Yeah,
they had to. This was a game they just could not afford to let this one get away. And to their credit, they just took care of business, and they didn't just score 4 in the first period and then sleep their way through it and hang on to win 5-4. They were in pretty much full control throughout.
Bruce, from watching Leon, do you think he's playing hurt?
There's something to tell in the way he's so phlegmatic about it, and there's things in his agility sometimes in making turns and stuff. And then there are other times where he gets this little burst and he just, looks like normal where he can overpower people. This game, I thought he didn't look good at all in the first period. And then I thought he was outstanding in the second and third, and really setting up a number of great chances and scoring an absolutely brilliant power play goal to pass Yari Curry on the all-time Oilers list for
That got my
fourth.
attention.
Yeah,
Wow.
no, that's when you're
That is something.
passing Yari Curry for anything on the Oilers. That's a feat. And so anyway, but the goal he scored where he allowed Evan Bouchard's perfect pass to actually go through his legs and deflected basically behind himself, so the puck got behind the pad of John Gibson before Leon tipped it. So he actually had a little bit of net to tip it into, whereas if he tipped it out in front of his body, Campbell was going to get it for sure. Just brilliant decision making. Let's start with that. Like his spatial awareness in that moment was off the charts, and of course the execution similar. So it's the big boys didn't dominate in this game, but boy, the goal that they each scored, Draisaitl and of course that staggering stop and go by McDavid that befuddled Zegras, and then the backhand he roofed behind Gibson.
Oh my goodness!
Just, wow, just absolutely staggeringly good. So when you get those guys chipping in like that, but when you also have the full team going, it gives you hope again. And I know this team's MO is to give you hope one night and then dash it the next. But maybe, McDavid said after the game, other teams have gone on a run. It's time we did, and he's certainly right about that. So now let's just put some put those words into action.
Yeah. And now that you've stuck in a second good thing also, I feel that we can end the podcast. We can end the podcast. Bruce, thanks for talking tonight.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.